So Hillary Clinton, when she was Secretary of State, was responsible for some very high-profile weapons deals, among many other things, of course, and some very damning questions have been raised about her judgment on this front. So Lee Fang of The Intercept reports here, he says, quote, "The indiscriminate bombing of civilians and rescuers from the air has prompted human rights organizations to claim that some Saudi-led airstrikes on Yemen may amount to war crimes. At least 2,800 civilians have been killed in the conflict so far, according to the United Nations, mostly by airstrikes. The strikes have killed journalists and ambulance drivers. The planes made by Boeing have been implicated in the bombing of 3 facilities supported by Doctors Without Borders. The UN Secretary General has decried intense airstrikes in residential areas and on civilian buildings, including the Chamber of Commerce, a wedding hall, and a center for the blind." We covered that on the show recently. And he has warned that reports of cluster bombs being used in populated areas may amount to a war crime due to their indiscriminate nature. Okay, so what they're laying out here is Saudi Arabia with U.S. weapons, U.S. planes. They've been going to town on Yemen, indiscriminately bombing, killing civilians all over the place, hitting schools for the blind, hitting hospitals, Doctors Without Borders, you name it. So, as they said, hey, very simply, this could be a war crime. It appears like they do not give a fuck what they hit in Yemen. They're not trying to just get Houthi rebels. No, they're like, hey, we're going to do collective punishment. If you're in Yemen and we think you're Shia, you're donezo. So this is what's happening, and it's happening, again, with weapons and planes from the U.S., and there's even been reports of the U.S. It goes further than this because our guys sometimes point to places on the map and give them the coordinates. Okay, hit here. All right, hit here next. So this is absolutely damning. Now, who was responsible for approving the $29.4 billion weapons deal to Saudi Arabia that gave them these upgraded planes and weapons? Would you like to take a guess? Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who pushed for it very, very hard. So this was around 2011, and the questions being raised are, well, why would you do that? Now, I get it. Everybody gets it. Hey, Saudi Arabia is our ally. But can we be reasonable about what to trust them with? Okay, now, I wish we had a more neutral relationship with them. I don't want a war, but I don't want to be buddy-buddy with them and oil friends where, you know, we're up each other's ass like we are. And it just so happens that Saudi Arabia is a Salafi terror state. They have the same ideology as ISIS. They execute people for all types of crimes that are not crimes in any way, shape, or form. You know, drug smuggling, sorcery, witchcraft, apostasy. No, it's sheer madness. So there's a Salafi terror state that we're arming. And again, why are we arming it? Well, maybe it's not just because they're allies. Maybe this has something to do with it as well. Quote, "Both the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and Boeing made donations to the Clinton Foundation." The Washington Post revealed that a Boeing lobbyist helped with fundraising in the early stages of Hillary Clinton's current presidential campaign as well. All right, guys, this is legalized bribery. Now, as I've said before when it comes to Hillary Clinton, she may be worse than almost all other politicians. Why? Because she has multiple fronts of corruption. She has, okay, you can donate to my campaign. That's one version of it. But all the other politicians have that too. I think it's wrong across the board. Okay, you can donate to my super PAC. Again, that's terribly corrupt, but most other politicians have that as well. Bernie Sanders does not, to his credit. But the super PAC is another way they raise money. Okay, hey, give me money so I'll give you speeches. This was in between Secretary of State and running for president. Okay, that's another version of direct corruption. Hey, I'll tell you, you know, some stuff about how you're oppressed if you're a Goldman Sachs banker, and, you know, you give me $675,000. If/when I'm in the White House, I'm going to take your call. And what? You want some favors? You want some tax loopholes? You want favoritism? All right, you got it. No problem. That's 3 forms of corruption. And then the 4th one, on top of all of it, the Clinton Foundation, which the Clinton family takes money from not only multinational corporations, not only billionaires, but state governments around the world. And so if you take money from Saudi Arabia and you're buddy-buddy with Saudi Arabia, guess what? not only are you not going to care that the Salafi terror state is now heavily armed, you're going to be excited about the fact that they're armed. So that brings me to the news from today. Newly released emails from Hillary Clinton's private server found that her team described the approval of the deal as, quote, good news and not a bad Christmas present. They were cheering in emails back and forth. Yay! We got the Salafi terror state more weapons. Yay! Isn't this awesome? Isn't this great? What a great Christmas present. Isn't it awesome that Boeing and Saudi Arabia gave the Clinton Foundation money and then you approved weapons that went to them that they're now using for war crimes in Yemen? Yay! Isn't that great? No, it's fucking horrible. But what it shows you is business as usual overrides everything else. International law, human rights, war crimes, like, whatever. As long as Boeing makes a buck, because they donated to me, as long as Saudi Arabia gets what they want, they're my buddies, they donated to the Clinton Foundation, as long as they get what they want, hear no evil, see no evil. Women, children getting blown up in Yemen, Saudi Arabia indiscriminately bombing using cluster bombs, which are illegal under international law because they target civilians so much. Don't care. Don't care at all. So I need Hillary Clinton to do me a favor. Next time you want to go on about how, oh yeah, ISIS is the biggest problem, jihadism is what we're fighting, this and that, shut the fuck up. Why? Because you armed the Salafi terror state. They have the same ideology as ISIS, and you thought it would be a brilliant idea to give them weapons. Why? Because they're your oil butt buddy. So you don't care about the ideology, you don't care about the threat that exists, and you also don't care about the fact that they've been funding jihadism the world over. And we have the redacted pages in the 9/11 report, which talk about how Saudi Arabia is more responsible than anybody else for what happened on 9/11, certainly more than Iraq. So spare me. I think that your business relations overrides everything else, even the security of our nation, and certainly the security of Yemen, where war crimes are being carried out on a daily basis because of the weapons deal that you're gleeful over.